member of the Kenya Kwanza cabinet, the cooperative cabinet secretary. That's back in history. Before we embark on our discussion, we had asked you earlier if you think the assenting of these new bids, the 7 of them, will make a difference to you as Kenyans. A lot of comments coming in, but now the comments have been outweighed by questions to Kimani Ichungwah. But yes, most of you believed that the government has no good interest or intention with signing of these bills into law. In fact, you say it's a finance bill back through the back door. I'll be asking Kimani Ichungwah about that, but thank you so much for holding on. And I'll be asking you about the bills that were assented to by the president tonight. But I'd like to take you to an area that Kenyans have been speaking about the whole of this week. The meeting between President William Ruto and his former boss, Uhuru Kenyatta. What is going on? Why were you first aware that that meeting was going to happen?
Yes, I was.
Why didn't it happen at State House? Why did it happen in Ishaweri, Uhuru's home?
Because the former president invited the president to his house.
Oh, it's him who invited the president to his house. And the president, if I invite the president to my home, he'll tell me where he can Kuja State House.
Not necessarily. I have invited the president to my house and he's come.
You are a member of parliament.
and Uhuru Kenyatta
is a former president.
A former president.
Okay.
So if he invited you, you would definitely go.
I would definitely go. And
remember William Ruto was his deputy for 10 years.
Yes. It's a good practice. Actually, there was a lot of positive comments and sentiments around that. The country needs such leadership. I mean, it's very magnanimous for the president to go to see the former president. It was very magnanimous. But then it raised a lot of questions. Is he seeking Uhuru's help in governing the country? Has he lost this country?
Not at all, Ken. And I think people should not view it in that perspective. And it's not the first time that President Uhuru and President William Ruto are speaking. It's not the first time. Probably it's the first time it's become public, but they have spoken before, even when there were no issues. Right from the last 2 years that President William Ruto has been governing after taking over from President Uhuru Kenyatta. And I don't know why this has generated a lot of reactions, maybe because it became public. But as you say, it's a good practice, and that's the way it should be. Former presidents, remember, right from the time of Daniel Arap Moi, when Mwai Kibaki took over from him.
So Uhuru going to consult with him?
Uhuru would consult with President Kibaki even when he was not very well. So we are grateful that we have a sitting president who has the benefit of getting the counsel and getting to talk to a former president that he has succeeded. And as I said, remember, many of the programs that are being administered or implemented by this administration are carry-on of what was being done under the Jubilee administration.
Okay.
And therefore, these occasional engagements are good for the country. And they've not begun with Uhuru Kenyatta. They began, remember, right after the last demonstrations the year before, with the birth of the NADCO engagement. And I've been here with you on the NADCO process. In fact, one of the bills that was assented to today, the EACC bill that was assented today by President William Ruto, is as a result of that continuous engagement with the leadership of this country. And that engagement began with the former Prime Minister. You've seen how it has helped to bring the country together. And what a better opportunity then for a leader of the national stature of former President Uhuru Kenyatta to have a sitting with the sitting president and continue in this continuous engagement, which is both healthy and good for the country.
He's reaching out seriously. He's seriously reaching out. I mean, he reached out to Raila Odinga, right? Or they agreed. There's now the broad-based government, right? The religious leaders today met the president at State House. He is meeting the former president. I mean, there must be something that is going on. There is no reason why we could see the president all over the place talking to people. Why is it suddenly that the president is talking to everyone?
There is definitely something going on.
What is going on?
The transformation of Kenya. A huge thing.
Explain.
that requires heavy lifting. And that heavy lifting requires, first, all hands on deck. Two, it requires a nation where everybody is looking at things from the same prism, and requires everybody to be aligned to that heavy lifting for that transformation that we seek for this country. What has happened in the past, Ken, and is a discussion that we've always had, you have cyclical movements of progress, 3 years, then 2 years of politicking, then you go back another 2 years, so you like make progress for a year, and that cycle goes and on and on and on and on. And having programs that have some sort of continuity that is guaranteed. And I'll give you the case example of the housing agenda, or even the universal health coverage agenda. UHC, what has now been christened Taifa Care, or the Social Health Insurance Fund, is something that President Mwai Kibaki began when he became president in 2003. That's an odd 21 years ago. He tried it, never succeeded to have universal health coverage. Remember, President Mwai Kibaki brought us free primary education, succeeded to a large extent. Universal health coverage did not work. President Uhuru Kenyatta came in 2013, 10 years after Mwai Kibaki, and attempted to get UHC going on. Remember, we piloted, I think, Kisumu, Nyeri, Isiolo, and Mombasa counties. And that was it. It never went beyond the pilot phase. Again, midstream, it collapsed. We tried under the Jubilee administration again to begin the affordable housing program. We made all the noise that we made to President Uhuru Kenyatta, and again, on the Park Road, and Mukuru began, phase one of Mukuru began.
That was it.
And that was it. And you never had the resources even to roll out that program. But that is not to mean that we never appreciated the value of having the affordable housing program as a government program.
That's how it came
Not
back.
to mean that we never appreciated the value of having universal health coverage or the need to have universal health coverage. I was giving an example this morning to a vernacular station of an incident I had in my own constituency. You asking me if I go to my constituency. Last Friday but one, I left Parliament at 1. We had a sitting in the morning. I left at about noon. Saw of the president at the airport as he went to Arusha, I think. Yeah, to Arusha. And I went to my constituency, mobilized about 5,000 to 6,000 people to take them through civic education on what is entailed in this Taifa Care program, or the Universal Health Coverage program, and pleaded with my constituents, those of you who are here, become our ambassadors on the ground. I rolled out a 10-day campaign on SHIF registration, or Social Health Insurance Fund registration, in my constituency, beginning then and will end on 13 this Friday in Kikuyu town. Today they were in Kino ward, tomorrow they will be in Kino ward. Mobilized all the 319 community health promoters in the constituency, took them through training, a whole day's training, the Wednesday before. And I explained to the people the need first of having this universal health coverage and how we faltered in the past. And faltered largely because we never go out to explain to people government programs and how the people will benefit from them. And we leave it at times, unfortunately, to you in the media. And what are Kenyans being told in the media?
The right thing.
The right thing, because what makes news?
What they want to hear.
No, what makes news is when the dog, the man bites the dog, not when the dog bites the man. And therefore, you will report all the negative things about universal health coverage, how it's not working.
I think we've done a fantastic job in reporting this.
People consume that.
Yes.
Social media, again, in this day and information age, again, because I want to trend, I will report negative news. And the negativity pervades more and more. At the heart of it is this innocent young man in my constituency who has a 9-year-old boy who needs a kidney transplant, has found a donor in the father, who is a forest officer, whose salary cannot be able to raise a bill of 5.5 million shillings, but comes in Taifa Care and sorts him out. A bill of 5.5 million Kenya shillings. I took liberty to do a conference call with my constituents on Sunday because I was away. Because they planned and arranged a fundraiser last Sunday.
For the family?
For the family. The whole village was mobilized in Kanyanjara in Sigona Ward. But I had an engagement with the people who were organizing and told them, please go ahead, continue with the fundraising. Because other than medical care, you may need post-medical care.
Yep.
A kidney transplant child may not be able to have the ordinary life that he would have had before surgery. But the fact is that all medical expenses, pre-surgery, during surgery, post-surgery are catered for by the Social Health Authority.
But this is a positive story. This is a positive story.
Which only make...
No, but you can tell us. I'm your friend in the media.
That's why I'm taking advantage of this situation. Because when your reporters go out to the field,
they don't bring
when our social media reporters report, they will report all the negative stories.
No, that's a story that we really want.
A good story. I have seen a number of good stories in the media.
Yeah.
But again, as I say, it's human nature. Good news is not news.
Bad news sells and
bad news sells.
Okay.
And therefore, knowing that, if you know you have all this heavy lifting you want, then you need every hand on the deck.
Okay.
You are church leaders.
Okay.
I've had them call us liars.
Yeah.
On NHIF. Many of them, because I have engaged very many church leaders, including those from the Catholic Church. Many of them, again, have been speaking from a point of not having information. And that is why it is important for the president to be magnanimous, to be, you may think he's being belittled by meeting people. But as a leader, he has that responsibility to explain to everybody where we are and where we are going. And that is exactly what he's doing. And
while he's doing that very good progress, and I'll be taking you back to that meeting, he also seems to be angry at people.
Has he been angry?
Yes, the last few address. Yesterday, he called people mad for anyone who resists vaccination. He said there must be mad people.
But honestly,
the other day, investors, when he was doing he told people who are resisting the he was very angry. And progress,
Let me ask you, Ken.
Yes.
The president was speaking to the pastoral communities. Who suffers more than those pastoral communities when they lose their livestock in hundreds of thousands? Is it me and you in Nairobi who are blogging about vaccines? Me and you in Nairobi.
Not the guys on the ground.
So I have to be crazy to be opposing vaccination of animals that have nothing to do with me. The person who is benefiting knows the value of that vaccine. The other example the president gave, I don't know, he mentioned about people who don't use the airport. I remember during the demonstrations, I saw a young man, very civic-spirited young man in Nairobi, who clearly, from what I saw, he has never patronized JKI.
The other day,
and he was asking, Kenyatta mzee hakuuza airport, Nyayo hakuuza, Kibaki hakuuza, Uhuru hakuuza airport. Huyu Ruto anafikiria yeye ndiye nani? Auza airport. And I looked at that gentleman and I asked, thank God is this gentleman saying this, because I am certain this one has never patronized the airport. He doesn't even understand the value of an international airport, not to an economy like ours, but to the regional economy. The passengers who are now connecting through Addis and Kigali,
avoiding JKIA,
Ken, are the passengers that some years back we were saying that Kenya is a sub-Saharan hub.
So instead of increasing our numbers, we're actually going down.
Why? Because we want to be very unintelligent, fight about everything. It could be Adani, it could be Ken Mijungu. I wish, and I was asking people, why don't you tell us, okay, not Adani, we have this Turkish investor or this Qatari investor or this American or this British investor or this French investor who's willing to do this. I have been to Istanbul about 2 years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago. And before that, I'd been to Istanbul maybe about 6 or so years ago. I had 3 years gap. Probably I go to Istanbul after every 3 years. And I found Atatürk Airport had been decommissioned. Ataturk Airport was probably 7 times the size of JKI. Why? Because they had built a completely brand new airport in Istanbul. Decommissioned Ataturk, they were converting into a public park, leaving only one runway for emergencies. The new airport, 100% PPP. Therefore, when you are annoyed that people don't understand that you cannot be able to finance all these huge infrastructure projects with your own resources, the same people who are crying you're overtaxing us. I mean, you are only human.
But don't you think these same people are vindicated when the president cancelled the Adani deals, regardless of the reason?
The president did not cancel the Adani deals because they were not good for the country. He cancelled, as he said, because he had gotten new information from friendly countries. And your guess is as good as mine. After what happened in the US, you would also have to be crazy to go on with the same. But that does not negate the fact that you need to build, and we must build a new airport. We must. Unless you can tell me that we'll be able to raise resources locally, which we may not be able to.
I saw the PCS said the other day that a diaspora bond of about 500 billion could be able to build us a new airport. That's a good place to begin, for example.
Bond for 500 billion?
Yes.
Now?
That's what he said.
Have you looked at your debt book?
That's what the deputy...
No, have you looked at your debt book?
we hit the ceiling.
He is telling you, yes, exactly. Yes. If it were possible to borrow that amount,
then we would,
because a bond is borrowing his money. You're borrowing from the domestic market, and probably Kenyans will be able to raise that. But just look at your debt book. Again, this is not a problem created by William Ruto or this administration. It's a problem that we created ourselves over the years, just like we created the problem of unemployment over the years. And when we become deliberate on solving those problems, the best we need is everybody on deck. And
that's why he's reaching out. So let me do a little politics with this meeting. Was it convenient that the deputy, you said they speak a lot, that the president met the former president now, that Rigiji is out. And by the way, you stuck your neck out during this impeachment. And has this cost you?
Oh, Rigiji, you mean the former deputy president?
The impeached deputy president.
Former member of parliament from Madeira.
The impeached deputy president.
The impeached deputy president.
Yes.
Well, the two have no relation, by the way, at all. The impeachment of the deputy president, and yes, I stick my neck out because I am a person who truly believes, who truly first loves this country. And I never want to see anybody or anything come between ourselves and the progress of this country. And I'm not here to discuss the former or the impeached deputy president. I don't have time for that. But I could tell you outright, the two are unrelated, and the continuous engagements continue.
But there was a fact that he was in the front line, Kimani, of vilifying Uhuru Kenyatta right from the inauguration of the president. I mean, it looks as though it was everything that happened to the former, to the retired president, the fourth president of this country, he was in the forefront.
Well, as I've told you, I'm not here to discuss him, and I wish he would be here to ask him those questions. If you ask me about anything I said about the former president, I would have an answer for you. But yes, he was at the forefront, including the unfortunate incident that happened at Ruiru. He knows, he was the one who was here. And he knows a little bit more than anybody else in this administration what happened at President Uhuru's farm in Ruiru. He vilified the former president right from the day of inauguration, probably out of inexperience.
Even before, during the campaigns.
I would excuse him probably out of inexperience because there's things you would say and things you don't say in certain places. Just like in his time in office, he said things that he ought not to have said, holding the office that he held of deputy president. But bygones be bygones. He's impeached. We wish him well in all his future endeavors, and may God be with him.
You have admitted that you stuck your neck out, and I want to talk about you. There are schools of thought that believe that the President, William Ruto, used you and a few of the Mount Kenya Member of Parliament, including Ndindi Nyoro and the rest, during the campaigns to vilify the former president, and indeed it succeeded. And William Ruto won the election. His obvious support was Raila Odinga in Azimio. And again, you, Kimani Ichungwah, and the same group, I don't want to say clique, of young Mount Kenya members of parliament were used again to remove Rigathi Gachagua. And that's why last week when Gathoni wa Mushomba was on my show, he said that you are a minority in the Mount Kenya region, because the Mount Kenya region moved away from you and the other people.
First, Ken, President Uhuru Kenyatta was not a candidate in the last election. The person who was the candidate was
Raila Odinga,
former Prime Minister Raila Odinga.
Yes.
And therefore, we had our own tiff with the former president. And as I say, you know, in this, our business of politics, they say they are not permanent friends and enemies. And it's all about interests. President Uhuru Kenyatta was supporting the former Prime Minister in the last elections. We had our candidate in William Ruto. We won the election flat out. We reached out to former Prime Minister Raila Odinga sometime last year, began an engagement that continues to date. We are engaging with the former President Uhuru Kenyatta, and that engagement continues and is good for the country. Therefore, what I believe in and what I have a conviction for myself, and I'll speak for myself and I'll speak for my other colleagues who we campaigned for the Kenya Kwanza administration with. Once I have a conviction on something, I stick to that conviction, so long as I believe what I am doing is the right thing. And I had a very strong conviction then that President William Ruto was the right candidate, and Kenya Kwanza had a much better and superior manifesto than the Azimio one. Just like I would disagree with some people I've seen talk about a new BBI. I never believed in BBI. I still don't believe in it. There are certain aspects of BBI that I believed in, others that are not palatable at all with me. There are people who believe in regional and ethnic parties. I do not believe in them at all. There are those who believe in regional kingpinship. I do not believe in regional kingpinship. I have never sought to be.
In fact, on this show, you even distance yourself from the one man, one shilling, one vote.
Even my constituency, I have never sought to be a kingpin for my constituency.
You don't desire?
I do not desire to be a kingpin for anybody. Regional, sectarian. If I would ever have the desire of being any king, I would rather be a king to one united, prosperous nation. And that is why my focus, my conviction is on a united, prosperous nation. And that's why if you come between that conviction and the progress of the nation, whether you are a president, whether you are a deputy president or a cabinet minister,
it becomes fair game.
It becomes fair game to deal with you. And that's why I had to deal with the impeached deputy president as I did, because he, whatever and everything he was doing wasn't auguring well for this country.
Are you a minority in the Mount Kenya region?
Who? Myself?
Have you been sidelined as Kimani Ichungwah from the Mount Kenya region? Yes.
How would I am a singular individual. How would I be a minority against who?
In terms of the voice.
Are you trying to compare me with
Gathoni
wa Mushomba?
In terms of the voice. In terms of the voice.
Ken.
So, in terms of the voice. Gathoni wa Mushomba wants to be president and kingpin probably. Are you? Have you lost your voice in the Mount? Because you're a leader. Mount Kenya region respects leaders.
Oh, is that why you're asking me whether I go to my constituency?
That was part of it. But Mount Kenya is a larger constituency
Just go to my Facebook pages and see whether I go to my constituency. See the numbers I'm able to mobilize in my constituency.
So has the mountain shifted and left you behind? Let me ask it that.
Shifted and gone where?
With Rigiji, with the Rigathi Gachagua.
To go where with him?
As their leader.
Are we here to discuss Rigathi?
No, we are not here to discuss it.
Please, spare me characters like Gathoni wa Mushomba, Rigathi Gachagua and others, and that shaggy-headed senator, I don't know his name, the senator for...
you don't even know where he comes from.
Okay. The one with shaggy hair and shaggy beards. If you want us to sit here and discuss such characters,
no, we're not going to discuss the character. But I want to know.
I can't sit here to discuss such characters.
I want to know. Uhuru Kenyatta, your relationship with Uhuru Kenyatta right now, that everything has been reset. And then secondly, there's this school of thought now that he seems to be working with Ruto, that he seems to being a favorite of Mount Kenya region.
My relationship with Uhuru Kenyatta, now and before, President Uhuru Kenyatta was my president for 10 years.
Yeah.
I worked under him as a first-time member of parliament, under his mentorship and that of Deputy President William Ruto. Grew friendship with the Deputy President and worked with him over the years. Beyond 2018, broke ranks with President Kenyatta for reasons that I don't want to discuss here. That was it. We went into the campaigns, we won, and that was it for me.
Okay.
Nothing else.
So right now?
Against, I'll tell you this, and I don't know if I should disclose this. Sometime last year, I had a very candid engagement with President William Ruto. And before that, I had had a telephone conversation with former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. And I asked President William Ruto to reach out to the former Prime Minister. Since 2013, I had never had any time for the former Prime Minister. But sitting where I sit now as Majority Leader, holding a constitutional office under Article 108 of the Constitution in national office, I am no longer a first-time member of Parliament. I have a better view of the nation than 10 years ago. The Kimani Ichungwah who walked into Parliament in 2013
unopposed
and re-elected unopposed in 2017 is not the Kimani Ichungwah of today.
Okay.
Fast forward. Sometime this year, I had a very candid engagement again with the president. And I asked him also, reach out to our former president and let's engage.
Okay.
Because I can see where you are going. I feel it. And I see the confidence that you have, and I share that confidence that we can get this country transformed. But it will not be possible to do it if people are working at cross purposes, if we don't have that unity of purpose. Therefore, you asked me a question first whether I knew President Kenyatta was
going to meet
President William Ruto.
Yes.
That's how I got to know.
Okay. Because of your engagement. With hindsight, Majority Leader, with hindsight, do you think there's anything to regret about what happened to the retired president? One, as a leader from that region, and secondly, as a National Assembly leader, as a national leader, with hindsight, looking at everything happened just to preserve the politics and the status quo. Do you regret, right from the inauguration to the raid at his home because of the guns, which was found to be an illegal raid, to the raid at his garden, to the raid at his mother's compound, and denial of security?
Why don't you invite the impeached deputy president here and ask him those questions?
As a leader, what do you think, with hindsight, do you think those things were...
I told you I'm not here to discuss individuals.
No, we're not going to discuss it.
But please invite him.
Yes.
Ask him all those questions. I think he has better answers than me.
In other words, you're throwing this at his doorstep. Everything that happened to he was involved.
Why don't you invite him and ask him?
I will try next year.
I have told you emphatically
yes.
on national TV.
Yes.
The impeached deputy president has answers to all those questions that you would want.
Okay.
If there's anything that has happened within the precincts of the National Assembly where I work as the leader of majority, against either the former Prime Minister or the former President, ask me. I'll be very happy to answer.
Let's talk about what happened in the precincts of Parliament. How did you get to pass these 7 laws without us noticing? What happened today? They were done privately. I hear only 65 members of Parliament, and you complained, there's a time you complained about 3 weeks ago about these members of Parliament and absconding duty and not appearing in Parliament. And they even threatened you. They told you not to, to finger them for that. How did this happen? Because we just woke up to the president signing.
Ken, you cannot say that. I've listened to our church leaders say that there are things we do hurriedly and others that we are very slow at.
Yeah.
And that was on the premise of establishment of the IEBC commissioners. And I listened to the church leaders and I wondered, honestly, are we being truthful? And with tremendous respect to our church leaders. The church leaders are part and parcel of the movement to establish IEBC because the Interreligious Council has representatives from both the Christians and the other religious groupings, including Hindus and Muslims. And they know they nominated people, just like Parliament nominated people. They know the issues that pervaded with the establishment of that panel. People going to court and filing injunctions, all manner of injunctions. First with the fight in Azimio between a gentleman called someone Muli and
Augustine Muli and Koki Muli.
Augustine Muli and Koki Muli. Then I hear the former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka attempt to lecture people about feelings in the coalition that he pretends to be the leader there.
He doesn't pretend, he's taken it.
He pretends.
He's taken it.
He's not the leader.
He's taken it.
There are other leaders in Azimio. He's not the leader of Azimio. And he knows it. He only pretends to be the leader of Azimio. And I don't know what's left of Azimio because I saw Madakarua has also bolted out of Azimio.
About 22 parties.
Have gone out.
No, are remaining.
I was in Azimio. Let's not discuss Azimio. What was I telling you? I was telling you
about the IBC issue.
If that IBC matter if you look at all the issues that pervaded, that blocked the establishment of that IBC commission, has nothing to do with the president. And I have seen them lecture the president on how he should establish. And in fact, the other day I was asking the president, the other day you injected against swearing in your own deputy president. Why didn't you ignore the courts then? Swear him in, then now ignore the courts and name this panel. Then we are game. Because that's what probably some of these leaders are asking the president to do. We say we are a nation that believes in the rule of law, constitutionalism, respect of court orders and institutions, but then we want it to be fit for purpose when it fits us. Both those of us in the political circle and now, unfortunately, even from the religious circles. And I would really, that's why these engagements that the president is having are important, so that he's able to explain to these people, whether from the political sphere or from the religious sphere, those in civil society, where things are on each and every of the issues they have raised. To Ken, when we pass laws in Parliament, it can never be in the dark. We have sat up to midnight, but it's always open forums, open to members of public. That is where they are screened live on TV, including KTN live. At times when I'm stuck in traffic and I want to see what's going on in Parliament, I stream in and I'm able to follow what's going on in Parliament. And therefore, these 7 laws are not all related to taxation. And they are good laws for this country. And I said it when I moved those laws in Parliament. For instance, the Tax Procedures Act, which is now an act of Parliament, gives Kenyans the tax amnesty that they lost with the finance bill. Mind you, Ken, and I said it here, I remember I was here with you during the finance bill debate, a lot of untruths, a lot of disinformation and misinformation was peddled on the finance bill. A lot of good things were lost with that finance bill. And it got lost and it's dead and buried. But some of the good provisions that were in that finance bill, we picked them out, put them in the tax procedures, that tax amnesty, some in the tax amendment laws. That's why today you will take more money home at the end of this month, probably, because they are now acts of Parliament if KRA is able to implement very fast, because your social health insurance fund, your affordable housing levy are now tax deductible expenses, and therefore your pay as you earn will be less this month as compared to last month.
Because they're gross,
but who told Kenyans that? When we attempted to tell Kenyans that, remember a week before we tabled, we went to amend the report, Kenyans told us, don't amend, reject. What were they rejecting? All the good proposals, including those ones that I'm giving you, including provisions that were there that now you can have a post-retirement medical scheme of up to 240,000 shillings tax-free. Now, today, I think it's 10,000 shillings a month, about 120,000 that is tax-free. With these amendments, you are now allowed to save up to 240,000 shillings every year for your post-retirement medical scheme. Because again, why do we have such a dependent society? We work up to the age of 55, 60, we retire. No medical insurance company is willing to take you up for medical insurance at the age of 60 or 55 as a new client, and even the one that you had employed has lapsed. But if you saved in a post-retirement medical scheme, it will come in handy at that time. You'll be less dependent on your family. You'll be less dependent on exchequer and taxpayers. And your insurance will take care of you. And we are encouraging you to save for post-retirement and encouraging those who are in active service today to start saving. Those benefits were all lost in the finance bill. We have been able to recoup them. And they are gains to Kenyans. There are also certain gains that are there to government in terms of revenue generation, because again, we need revenues, because Kenyans today have seen almost all TV channels in this country profile how bad roads are in Nairobi County and other areas, including in our own constituencies. Every now and then I'm being asked about the road from Nachu to SGR. Why? Because we don't have resources to do all these roads together. And we cannot be able to raise all these resources locally. That's why we need the PPP arrangements for the airports, for water, electricity. We just changed the law on the Water Act that was ascended to last week to allow PPP programs for the development of huge infrastructure projects in the water sector. And therefore, is a new way of funding things that I'm telling you. It's happening in the UK, it's happening in the US, it's happening in Istanbul, UAE here.
PPP. I think my majority leader, the problem was not what we were trying to do. I think the problem was the explanations that did not come with this PPP.
No, the problem was the disinformation and misinformation
that was spread around.
Just look around from April. And in fact, the assent of these bills today and their smooth passage in Parliament over the last 2 months, because it's not a process that was done hurriedly, as people would want Kenyans to believe. Remember, it began when CS John Buddy said, did an advert in the newspapers and invited Kenyans to give submissions of what they would want to see. And many of the things they said are things that were already in the finance bill. And we were telling them, okay, what you are saying, by the way, was part of the provisions that you told us to reject in the finance bill.
Okay.
So manufacturers in this country lost huge provisions in the finance bill. We've not even been able to recoup many of them because they couldn't fit into some of the acts that we are amending with either the business laws or the tax amendment laws or the tax procedures. And some we have to carry forward to next year's finance bill. But that tells you the power of misinformation. Falsehoods always travel faster and are more believable than the truth.
And you blame that for what happened. Why didn't you counter this? Why didn't you counter it with the truth?
Well, as the president considered, and I agree with him, we failed to a large extent in communicating, and that's why from those learnings we have now improved on how we engage with the public. That's why ministries now are doing sensitization on bills even before they come to Parliament for public participation, because the ministry does its public participation
Parliament does its own
sensitization on what are you anchoring, what policy are you anchoring the proposed legislative proposal on, what informs it. When you tell people that we do not want to import diapers and sanitary towels, you remember our young ladies telling us very unpalatable things, the kind of messages we are getting here from girls who are the age of my teenage daughters on sanitary pads. In fact, my own daughter asked me, why are you taxing sanitary pads? And I explained to her, we are not just taxing any sanitary pad. It is a finished product. Why? Because you need a job when you graduate from school. That job will not come from the Asian countries, Americas or Europe that are exporting their diapers here and their sanitary pads. They will come from the factory in Ruiru or the one in Mlolongo that is manufacturing here.
So in a nutshell, did you sneak back provisions that were in the finance bill before that was rejected?
We did not need to sneak back anything. We listened to the people. through that engagement done by the National Treasury. They published a bill publicly. We invited the views of the public through participation, public participation, even went out of our way to go to counties, at least 6 counties, received the views of the people, factored those views in the public participation report as expected of us, following the guidance by the Supreme Court on what they call the qualitative and quantitative analysis of public participation views. And we then legislated in line with what was in the bill. That is where you'll find there are certain provisions like the export levies at 3% that we dropped, that came from the Ministry of Trade and Industry. But when we went to the public, stakeholders say this will be harmful to business. There are also many other things that we dropped.
Okay.
And many other things that also came from members of public industry players that we incorporated that were not there originally in the bill, and they came in as amendments. And I think the other bit we failed for us, now where I sit in Parliament, was also on getting Kenyans to understand the legislative process.
Okay.
I remember during the finance bill debate, when we said we were amending the bill, Kenyans told us, don't amend, reject.
Reject in whole, reject in totality.
And I mean, you know, if you were to reject the bill as it were, then what was presented by the National Treasury would pervade. Without the input of Kenyans, without the changes that you wanted to change. They never wanted tax on bread. We had removed the tax on bread. They never wanted tax on motor vehicles. We had removed. The amendments were to remove the offensive clauses in the bill.
So the rest
but
were
Kenyans,
okay?
Very many Kenyans never understood that.
I think
they were incited to reject, don't amend, reject, don't amend.
I think it
and
is
everybody
also how,
joined them.
I think it's also how the leaders spoke to Kenyans, because it was so forceful. A number of people from Kenya Kwanza, members of parliament, said, we will pass it as it. And then they were behind the president clapping when the president had declined to assent.
You know why?
It was how they were bulldozing.
You know why?
Into Kenya.
Because I have seen people disparage members of parliament for that. Members of parliament will go through a bill, clause by clause. In fact, in third reading, in committee of the whole house, you go through the legislative proposal clause by clause. Even where you need to add a full stop, you must bring in an amendment to put a full stop, or put a comma, or remove a comma.
Okay.
Or put the word there, or
shall we,
or shall, or may, or we. Okay. Therefore, members of parliament understand that. So when members of parliament were telling Kenyans, these things are good for you, these proposals,
it's how they were saying it.
Well, of course, for some, and granted, we all don't communicate the same. Even me, you may not like everything that I've said on this show, and you have to forgive me, because that's the way I'm created, and we are not all created the same way. You also probably say things that I don't like, but I have to live with it, because that's...
You have to accommodate me, because you're my friend.
Even when the media misinforms the people, I pray for them. When church leaders say things that are untrue, I pray for them. I do speak to those that I know and tell them, Mchungaji, what you have said is not true. That there is one actually who is the moderator of my church who said the other day, just because he comes from Nyeri, that we rushed the impeachment process. And I explained to him, my friend, impeachment processes, the procedure and process of impeachment is provided for in the Constitution, including timelines.
Yeah. Come to Parliament, prevail on us to increase it. I hope you told him that, to increase that timeline.
Even Parliament can't. That's a referendum.
A referendum issue. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you even don't want governors and presidents and deputy presidents and ministers to be impeached by Parliament, change the Constitution.
Okay. We're running out of time, but I have 2 questions that I have to ask you. The first one is your opinion as a leader from that region. Do you believe that the president has lost the mountain?
No, I don't.
He still has the mountain?
He has not.
In the run-up to 2022,
of course, there are those who would want you to believe that.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, the people, and let me say the Kikuyu nation, not the people of the mountain, because there are many people who speak the language I speak as my mother tongue, who don't live in the mountain, and who love this country, and who know they are working and living in Mandera County, Wajir, Garissa, Kisumu, Homa Bay, your home county, and you know, is Ebania? How many of my people are there working and trading and living harmoniously with other Kenyans, Nakuru, and everywhere in this country, including those in Lamu? Therefore, they appreciate other people. There are those of us in leadership who, for our own selfish and very sectarian interests, want people to believe that maybe we are more superior than others. Maybe there are things that we have that others don't have. Maybe it has to be our way or the highway. We are not like that. Our people are not like that. Our people are a loving, understanding, industrious, enterprising people, hardworking people. And all they desire is space to work and prosper, feed their families, grow their businesses, and grow as people and see a prosperous country. That is where you find the people who hail from our region have no problem settling in any part of this republic, doing their thing and living peaceably with others. And that is a kind of country we want. Why any one of us would want to alienate the people of Mount Kenya region, that we are selfish people who only think about ourselves, who are ungovernable unless it is one of us who is governing. That is not us. And I would never stand and allow any leader, irrespective of who you are, to alienate the people of my people where I come from, those who don't come from where I come from, and are Kenyans. And that is why, like the president has begun doing, and I have encouraged him, and I believe that that engagement with all the people of this country is important for this country.
Okay.
None of us is more important than the other.
Okay.
None of us desires poverty. None of us doesn't want to excel and prosper in life. We all want that.
Okay.
And it's not just the people of Mount Kenya.
Everyone.
Everybody, those from Mount Kenya, those from the north, those from the lake, those from the coast, everybody wants to prosper, and they want to prosper in any part of this country. My own village, Ken, when I was growing up, I could speak in my mother tongue anywhere and everywhere. Today I can't. Even my immediate neighbors in the village.
Because not everyone speaks your language.
Not everybody speaks my language. So why would we want to alienate ourselves and make other Kenyans believe that we are these special people who must be treated with kid gloves in a certain way, and if you, it's either our way or the highway, and if you don't treat us this way, we will threaten you with bolting out so that you accede to the demands of our leaders, not even the demands of the people. And I have challenged my constituents and every other person I speak to in the Mount Kenya region. Challenge me as a leader. Challenge your members of parliament on their work.
Okay.
Not on the greed and selfishness of other people and other leaders.
Okay.
I will have challenged people from my region to tell us, what is it that this administration promised you
that they haven't delivered,
that they are not delivering on, and that they are not working on delivering, and judge this administration based on their promises, their pledges, and their commitments, and work that they will deliver for you after 5 years. At the end of the day, you are the one with the power of the vote.
Yeah.
And that's why I told even members of parliament, don't fear those who are threatening you. Focus.
Okay.
Remain true to the calling of delivering to your people on what you are elected to. Otherwise, if you listen to the distractions, oh, you'll go home in 2027.
You'll never work.
Why? Because you are not following a man? I would never, ever kneel down and follow a man. None.
We're going to play the video of the week. When we come back, I have one last question for the majority leader. And the video of the week can only be one thing, the 40-second video from Ishaweri. If you missed it in hall, here it is. A look at the handshake. All right, very interesting. You know, the former president is very passionate. I've met him, and the way he shakes hands, you know, it's with true spirit of an African. But that video did a lot to Kenyans. That video was a good one. As I let you get,
isn't that the kind of country we all want to see?
And why is it that no one is vilifying the Kikuyu nation when Uhuru Kenyatta met? Raila was told everything possible in this world. Traitor, nini. How comes it never happened from your community when he met? I never heard those things.
Well, of course, there are still those who have their feelings, but I keep saying, watapona tu. Watapona.
Because they said the moment he did that handshake, alienda yeye sasa watumtaki.
Watapona, don't worry.
As I let you go,
watapona.
As I let you go, this is a question I asked last week, and this is not about Wamushomba, but it's a question I asked last week. If the president, because they say the mountain has shifted, I don't know, you say the mountain has not shifted, but if the president wanted the mountain back, and one of the things he would do magnanimously is to appoint CS Interior from the Mount Kenya region, would that reset this relationship? And are you that Interior Cabinet Secretary?
Ken, let me answer you that question in a very long way, short but long. In 2022, President William Ruto asked me to tell him what cabinet slot I want. I told him I want to be leader of majority in the National Assembly. After Mashujaa Day, I said it in the Coast, and you reported in your news, I am not interested in serving as a cabinet secretary. I have a well cut out job for me as member of parliament for Kikuyu. I still have a lot of work unfinished for the people of Kikuyu. And I believe I would offer my energies better in the National Assembly as leader of majority, given the opportunity by my coalition to continue serving in that position. And therefore, you are not looking at a cabinet secretary here.
Not anytime.
I will vet whoever will be appointed cabinet secretary, and I will do real vetting. And you know I do real vetting. And if they do not qualify, we will send back to sender. If they qualify, we will approve and convince the House to approve them.
One of the reasons why you're a possible wild card is because the way you stuck your neck in the impeachment, and a lot, I'll take you back, they say you lost favor with your constituents and the Kikuyu nation, so you need a soft landing, and a soft landing could be a cabinet position. I know you've answered me.
Those are people on social media and here who will tell you that. I think that question can best be answered by the people of Kikuyu.
Okay.
They know who Kimani Ichungwah is. They know what he's capable of. That is why they have entrusted me for the last 15 years to be their member of parliament. They can see visible development work ongoing now, even amidst the difficult situation that we are in. And they know I am a very focused leader.
Okay.
The leader you will see on national TV is not the leader who is member of parliament for Kikuyu. There's a distinction between the leader of majority and the member of parliament for Kikuyu. When I go back to my ground, I serve my people.
Okay.
When I push government business, I push government business for the people of Kenya. Not all government business may be palatable to everybody in Kikuyu or everybody in the nation, but it has to be done for the greater good of our republic.
Kimani Ichungwah, thank you so much for coming tonight, and it's always a pleasure. Ni kama unafunganga mwaka na mimi. Thank you so much for coming.
Wewe ndiye unaniita kufunga mwaka na mimi.
Lazima. How would I just let you go
thank
like
you,
that?
Thank you for the invite, and see you in the coming year. And allow me to use your TV to
yes,
all Kenyans. Merry Christmas, a prosperous 2025, and may God bless you all.
Asante sana. And as I let the majority leader leave, and of course we're leaving, thank you so much for watching tonight and all your feedback. I know there are a lot on social media. We'll be reading them.